Well, thanks you guys for agreeing to be with us and have a conversation with us today about PowerSchool special programs and your experience with it. Appreciate it because I know it's crazy times right now. I mean, it's always crazy times at school, but particularly as we get towards the end of the year. Before we get started, why don't we just take a minute and if you don't mind, introduce yourself, your role, your school district, and then we'll get into our discussion.
So I am Michelle Noga. When we had done our changeover from our previous program, I was the elementary supervisor of special education. Currently this year, I'm serving in the role of an administrator on assignment, creating our K-8 MTSS programming.
I'm Barbara Bescher. I'm in for Michelle this year as the elementary supervisor of special education.
Great. So nice to meet you.
And I'm Todd Brown. I am the middle school supervisor of special education.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. So you're with the Southernton School District. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your district, the size of the district, how many teachers, faculty do you guys, how you're kind of structured.
So we're located in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, which is the Philadelphia suburbs. We have about 6,500 total students, of which about 1,150 roughly have IEPs. And of course, then we have other students with 504s and GIEPs as well.
Great. Yeah, it's a pretty large size district then. I've been there a couple times myself. What modules are you actually using from special programs? You're using special education, obviously. Are you also utilizing 504, gifted and talented, any of the others?
We are utilizing the 504s within the PowerSchool special programs as well as the gifted IEPs within that program.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds good. And what were you using prior to transitioning over to special programs?
We were using IEP Plus.
Okay. Gotcha. That's right. You all migrated from IEP Plus. I do recall that. So how is PowerSchool special programs moving from IEP Plus? How has that, if it has, I'll ask it that way, benefited the students, the staff, that kind of thing since you've transitioned? I think you've been over with special programs a couple of years now, if I'm guessing.
Just a little over a year at this point.
Okay. Okay. Well, last year seemed like 2 years in all fairness.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's hard.
So there are a lot of features that we like. We really like the translation feature because we do have a significant English learner population here. We also like the text boxes and the fact that they support charts and graphs. Our school psychologists have really enjoyed having access to those features. And Barbara, Michelle, I think you guys may have some other things in mind as well.
So I used it previously as a user, as a school psychologist prior to being in this role. So just transferring from IEP Plus to PSSP, it was a beautiful transition and a school psychologist dream that we could finally use graphs and tables. There was a lot less formatting issues than we had with our previous program. We just found it to be very user-friendly in terms of if there was a section that we missed, it flags you to that section that you missed and what you need to change to make sure that your document is complete. And I think that's something where our teachers currently, thinking from this role now and seeing, the teachers completing the IEPs and what I need to check on my end to make sure it's complete, there's already those safety guards within the system that double check to make sure all of those sections are completed. And overall, people say that it's very user-friendly and doesn't require a significant amount of training on their end to figure out how the program works.
Oh, well, that's actually great to know. And I will tell you from my many presentations, whenever there is a school psychologist in the room as part of that presentation, the first question they want to know is, can we get charts and graphs into the narrative responses? And is it going to be all funky formatting, or is it actually going to be nicely formatted? So, yes.
It's the bane of our existence.
And I understand. So I'm glad that that's helpful for you. How about you, Michelle? Anything you'd like to share?
I think for us, our transition process was a unique one. And I think having the ability to be supported by, it was Angela at the time, through our KTO hours, and really building the program from scratch. We had our special education administrative assistants were both in the room with us, because they are the ones that kind of deal with the nitty gritty of making sure documents are finalized, locked, and things like that, and supporting us as supervisors. But then we were also really able to, with our database administrator, create this program how we wanted it to look. So we were able to offer different user, kind of what it looked like at the user end. We could create some different programs and allow people to access certain things that in our past program we weren't able to always do. We weren't able to customize, I guess, that end user templates and what they were allowed to have access to. So that was really helpful, because now we can ensure that documents aren't going to be edited by the incorrect person. We can make sure that people who need to see something about a child can find it and it's readily accessible. And I think one of the other pieces that I think Todd and our high school supervisor would agree is its ability to interface with some of our private schools through the transfer envelope feature, so that we can get documents, IEP documents from them, within seconds as they write them. Whereas typically you have to either wait for them to come in the mail or they'd email them as a PDF. And as a supervisor, our inboxes get very full and we'd forget to send them to be printed. So I think some of those components that we were really able to customize from the ground up helped roll it out, because we really rolled it out within weeks of our 12-1 PA child count.
Indeed you did. I remember talking to Angela. She and I go way back. She's fantastic, by the way. And yeah, it was a bit of a race to the finish. And I was thrilled to see that everything got pulled off in the end. And I can appreciate what you say about the security piece, because that is a big thing, right? Teachers and others, they need access to the documentation, certainly, but what you don't want to have is an all or nothing situation if you don't have to. So I appreciate that you guys have been utilizing the security permissioning to a way that suits your needs and mimics what you'd like to do. And another one I would point out that came out about last, I'd say December, if I had to guess, as a part of a release, was the ability to also apply security permissions to documents that are uploaded. And that was a really big thing, because a lot of folks would want to, upload maybe a psychiatric or some other piece of document or an evaluation or something of that sort, that that you wanted the certain people to have access to that, and you wanted it to be a part of the student's record, but you didn't want everybody to be able to access that documentation. So if you haven't looked into that, want any more information, let me know. But the ability to now apply security access to upload documents as well was an ask for a while, and I was really happy to see that being released. So, well, thank you for that. Those were all great benefits. I appreciate it. Now, being that you had a super fast implementation and it was a bit of a race to the finish, do any of you have any advice maybe to other school districts that are thinking of transitioning? Because transitioning, even if it's to a better system, a more streamlined system, it's hard, right? And especially now, with all of the craziness of having folks work remotely and half the kids are here and half the kids are there, not overwhelming our teachers and our staff with things. So are there any advice you would give to other districts that are thinking about transitioning and how they can maybe make that a little bit of a smoother ride?
Well, I think, as Michelle was saying, being able to work with a trainer and also being able to have, really our whole team block out a lot of time to sit and build it from the ground up, to customize the end user experience for each of our user groups, our teachers, our psychologists, our clinicians. That was really helpful. So I think it's important for people to know that, initially it does take some time, but once everything is set up, the end user experience is really superior.
I'd also add, I think, leaning into your teacher leaders that you have. So what we had done is we have coordinators in our district. So that coordinate and help, the supervisory level, like our supervisors kind of disseminate information. They're at each of our buildings. So we had brought them in and done kind of a train the trainer model with them so that they would be a point person within their building as our end users began to create documents in the program instead of relying on us as supervisors to walk them through every step. And actually one of ours ended up creating kind of a step-by-step tutorial that it was crucial because as we were rolling it over, he was really able to kind of take it from his perspective as an IEP case manager and where he needed to click and what he needed to open first prior to opening another document. And having that core group of team teacher leaders, and I know we had our psychology coordinators were a part of that as well. Each group then had a point person they could go to get a quick answer of, hey, I'm getting this error message. What does it mean? And that person kind of already had some of those tricks of the trade to share.
Yeah. And you know what? It's interesting because we were doing a few of these customer interviews and that has come up as a common theme, which is building capacity with a core group of people and making them really kind of subject matter experts in this so that when folks have questions, because you have the best training resources and stuff, online help and all of those things. But the reality is when you're trying to get something done in the middle of an already crazy day, the easiest thing to do is go to your peer or your colleague and say, I'm stuck. What can I do? So building that capacity, that core capacity with those folks, I think is important. And it's actually come up in pretty much every one of the interviews. And I think that, whoever took the initiative to create the quick guide, everybody needs one of those because again, the guides that we provide can tell you click here, click there, but it's sort of the why and the district process folded into that I think really makes a difference when you get right down to the end user experience. No, that's great.
I think another, just again, from the user side of things from last year when I was more so in that role, having that training, that quick training, but then something else that was helpful in addition to having that quick resource manual was coming together as teams and just taking an hour and muddling through things together for an hour. That was really beneficial to us as a group of psychologists to figure out how to use the platform. And then we were able to team and use each other as resources for that hour to figure out, oh, you know how to do this, fantastic. And I know how to do this. So let's quickly teach each other how to do these two things at the same time. So, after that training, having that hour to sit down and figure things out as a team was also very beneficial.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think that's a great idea because what you really, it's such a complex, I don't mean complex in a hard way, but it's such a comprehensive solution. It can do so many things. I feel like the learning continuous and we come out with these new features and everybody, again, back to your normal crazy day, it's like how do we implement something that's new that's really going to help us but takes a little bit of time to get there. And so I think that having those kinds of sessions continuously, and maybe they tail off a little bit from the initial set of training, but still to gather and say, okay, here's something we might need to incorporate that could really, if we put the time in up front, make our lives that much easier sort of down the road. So that's great advice. Well, is there anything anybody else would like to share?
I mean, I guess the only other thing that I would say is that our state reporting process is a lot smoother and a lot cleaner than it used to be with all the tools that PowerSchool has. And just kind of on a very broad level, I would say that just the quality of the output, the way the documents look and read is very clean and very professional looking. And it's, really a big improvement over what we were doing before.
With lots of charts and graphs embedded.
There you go. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for that, Todd. Thanks to all three of you for, again, taking time out. We could not appreciate it more. So continue all the good work that you're already doing. Reach out to us for any help that you need and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our pleasure.